Hi all, it's me again. Here to give you an update, a vlog on the episode of season 6, episode 4 of The Walking Dead titled Here's Not Here. And all in the beginning, it starts with Morgan assumingly talking to this one guy he did not kill in JSS. And and he's decided how he doesn't want to kill anybody, so he decided to describe how he became the person that he is today. Every little bit. It all began in the episode of Clear, like it was when they all went in Clear. Like Morgan was at his house, he was trying to sleep, and then he had a break, and he started breaking down, and then the I think the lantern got on fire, and then that's how he escaped. He decided to then fend for himself, and so he set up a camp. He killed some walkers, and he set them all on fire, and he was out in the campground area alone. And eventually, there were some noises that he heard, and he took his stick, and there were two people who were innocent. There were two, like, they're not walkers, they were humans trying to survive. Eventually, Morgan stabbed one of them in the throat, and he choked, and he put his hands around the other man and choked him out as well. But eventually, we go to this place, like it's a cabin cottage or something like that, and he heard this ba sound, and it turned out to be a goat. And he tried to kill it, and then you overhear a voice saying, "Don't touch the goat. I need it to make cheese." And eventually he said, "Please step out and we can talk." Eventually he wouldn't, like, and he just didn't know this guy. He didn't trust him. He had his rifle. He was getting ready to shoot someone. Then all of a sudden, this guy knocks him out. And he said, "I tried to warn you. I tried to warn you." Eventually, he takes him in and locks him in a cage. Eventually, and so actually found out that this guy was the last name had been his name was Eastman, and he was a psychosis psychologist on how he wants to help prisoners get a start their lives over and forget the past, like for other criminal activities, they can lead a calm, peaceful life. But eventually, Morgan did not approve. She's just saying, "Kill me, kill me, kill me, kill me." Eventually, there was some tension between the two of them, and he threw some food under the, like, what he's been eating every day. It was called falafel, but later on we figure out it was like it was oatmeal burgers. But how do you make oatmeal burgers? I guess the guy Eastman is really. I believe he's a vegan. Trust me, he is. Goo goo pack can cake or something like that, candy or something, and making cheese. That's what he uses his goat for. And we found out the goat's name was Tabitha, Tabitha the goat. And he looks at the picture of a drawing that Eastman's daughter wrote. But eventually, Eastman gave Morgan a book about the how to about finding peace in his life. And so at first he didn't care, and then all of a sudden he started opening up to Eastman a bit more and more each time. And then they go out, and he learns how to control his anger and how to live in the moment and find peace within his life, and always saying, "Oh, like," and Eastman, that's how in the season finale of Conquer, when he said to Daryl that all life is precious, that's what he got it from Eastman. He says, "Why did you do it?" Eventually, like the cage here, the cage, he wanted to save it for this guy who murdered his this guy Eastman was after for murdering his family. but eventually wanted he put him in the cage, starved him, and it took over 47 days. And eventually he decided to go to Atlanta and turn himself in, but that's when world went to shit. And another, and when Morgan and Eastman comes out and they try to send the walker, eventually Morgan, he says, get your turn, Morgan. This is it. He walks up to the walker and he realized who he really was. It was the guy. It was the guy he killed, like who strangled, and he just stood there like froze and sullen, like he couldn't do it, like. And eventually Eastman had to go in, that killed the walker, and then he got bit right in the back area, and then he says this. Morgan says, why'd you kill it? Like, why? And then they get into this huge fight, and Eastman to, Morgan wanted Eastman to kill him. But eventually Eastman says, no, no, and eventually he walked away, but I could tell that his time was going to come. And then when Morgan came to, he decided, like, he went back to the camp, but eventually he saw one of the walkers eating Tabitha the goat, and I'm just like, oh, poor Tabitha. And eventually, Lisa said she got out. So eventually, Tabitha the goat has gone, rest her soul. But eventually, Eastman was like doing work, and he started getting the fever starting to hit him, and then he said, he told him, sit down before you fall down. So eventually Morgan tried to help Eastman be a little more comfortable and more aware of the situation. So eventually, as they go inside, and he said, I'm ready to go, join my family. And he noticed a picture of the drywall that his daughter wrote a long time ago, and he just couldn't stay mad at her, so he had it framed after she died. And eventually, Morgan took Eastman to the closet where he had his rifle and wanted to kill himself, to end his life, so he wouldn't be one of them. And then he said, "You can't stay here. You gotta go on." And that's what he said to Morgan. Eventually, he stayed at the cabin for a bit after he died, and he did his thing with the stick and the Bowie, like the stick, how he, you know, like like Donatello from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and a karate and a kung fu move or judo. And eventually he decided, like, that now we figure out that before he died, Eastman gave him a rabbit's foot, as for luck. And now we knew in Conquer where he got the rabbit's foot from. It was from Eastman. And then I figured out, when he approaches two survivors, he had his guns out, and eventually they were shaken, and they said, "Here's a can of chicken noodle soup and a bullet." And they said, "Thank you," and they walked away. And eventually he started walking. That's before Terminus really went to hell. That Terminus hasn't, Carol hasn't blown up Terminus yet. He started walking, and then he saw the sign Terminus, Sanctuary for All. Um, Eventually he started walking down the tracks, and now we know how he became in Conquer, how he became the man he is today. When we watched this episode, and Here's Not Here, then it went to then it goes to an episode, like we found out how he did that in Conquer. When he finally appeared in the season finale, and then in the ending, he spoke to the wolf that he did not kill, and he explains why he didn't do it, and then, but he said, you're gonna die, like, and the wolf was really psycho, says, and his teeth were like scaring the crap out of me, saying you're gonna die anyway. And he was like delusional, psycho, and all that. Now we know why he had the rabbit's foot. He figured out how he got the can of soup and when he went into the church at the ending of Coda last season, and we all then as soon as he left the wolf alone in the jail cell, and I don't know, I don't trust that wolf. I don't know why, but he's got something up his sleeve. He locks the door, leaves the jailhouse, and eventually walks. Like he looked around Alexandria, and all he hears is "Open the gate, open the gate," and he quick opened the gate, and eventually he heard the voice, and that was it. That was the ending of Here's Not Here. Now, about when they after the episode when they accidentally showed episode 6 by mistake when there should be episode 5. Eventually, episode 5 next week is going to be called Now, and it's going to take place right in Alexandria. But the episode in episode 6, which title is not named yet, is going to focus more on Daryl, like how he's going to end up in trouble, how he's going to be held hostage during an encounter, trying to escape, and when you mentioned there's going to be a Carol moment in that episode. I'm really looking forward to it. I just want to know what he meant, but eventually, in the actor's contract, they are not allowed to say anything. They have to keep it protected to avoid to ruin the reputation of the show. But eventually, I have a feeling that I think Maggie's going to be in the episode 5 of Now, is when Maggie realizes that Glenn is missing, and she and Aaron went to go find him, but we all know for a fact that Glenn is alive, and he's hiding somewhere to be safe, and eventually, I think the reunion is going to be addressed in hopefully season 7 and 8. So we hope and pray that Glenn is alive still. And with Daryl, the Carol moment, I don't know what it is. Like there was this, he told me about this great moth walker or something like that. It reminds him of Carol, but I don't know what it is. But I think it's or probably when he gave her the Cherokee Rose, or something like that. And then he'll realize he does love Carol. He does want to be with her. And then the way the parallels are connecting, like when Carol's killing going badass again, killing all the wolves and all that, saving Alexandria, and Daryl wanting to go back to Alexandria to help out, but eventually he ended up going back to the herd and helping out. But eventually, in the sixth episode, Daryl will experience danger in his travels, but it'll all be good. It'll all be good because I know he's going to be having his own documentary series called Riding with Norman Reedus, which about him traveling on a motorcycle, checking out all motorcycle shops. And I do love motorcycles. I've never been on one before, but I would love to ride in the back of a Harley. That is my dream. So, eventually that is it for me. And so next week's episode is season 6 is episode 5 called Now. It's not the Daryl. It's not the Daryl season 6 episode. It's the Alexandria episode. So we don't want to be confused. It's AMC admitted it was an accident. So they aired the wrong one. But so next episode is Now. It will take place in Alexandria. And anyways, if you want to blog on want to comment on my blog, please do so. But remember, no bashing, no rude comments, and no disrespect. Okay, so this is Jen signing off once again, and I will see you next week for another episode of the Walking Dead blog. Night.